Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz pianist and composer Amina Figarova on the 2024 CD Suite for Africa. Teamed up with her stellar sextet and a choir of orphaned and at-risk children from Liberia, she makes yet another wonderful album. She was inspired to write her new Suite for Africa by her experiences meeting students during her travels to South Africa. But it was a chance encounter in the air that brought the stirring piece fully to life as a travel mishap placed her on the same flight as the Matsiko World Orphan Choir that is an ensemble of orphaned and at-risk children from war-ravaged Liberia. It's quite a story. Enjoy.
It's great to catch back up with you. Thank you for taking a minute out. And I'd love to begin our conversation with, before we get into the project, by asking you, COVID did quite a thing for all of us. 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out how long it was going to last and really coming to grips with it. How did you end up getting through that time period, and how much was this album influenced by living through that?
That's a tough question. Well, the worst part was that our tours were canceled, and so the impact was, in a way, interesting, because if not for the lockdowns, I would probably travel to South Africa and continue my project with the South African choir. But because of lockdowns, and I couldn't do it, and only in 2 years, I accidentally met choir at the Brussels airport.
Talk to me a little bit about how, from the inception of the idea for this Suite for Africa, how did it begin, and how did you assemble and get all of this put together to become an actual album?
Yeah. So, let me tell you that, because what I just told you is kind of, I jumped the hoop over. So, for many years, I was going to South Africa, played their jazz festivals in Cape Town and in Johannesburg, and I've seen a lot of poverty and kids getting into criminality. But what really inspired me most and actually upsetted me is the day I was teaching at masterclass at a university in Johannesburg, and I was and the students were brilliant, the piano players were fantastic, and because they played for us, and I was talking to them, they asked me a specific question about piano technique, and I was talking to them just outside of the university, which is kind of on the hill of in Johannesburg, and as we speak, and as I talk to them, and they tell me, like, no, we don't have pianos at home. We don't have keyboards. We don't have acoustic piano at the university. We have one keyboard. There's one keyboard they have to fight for. And as we speak, I am looking at the building in process of the big soccer stadium. I think they were building it for one of the championships. And that cost million, if not billion of dollars. And these kids have no keyboard, just one. And that made me very, very, very upset. And that was the moment I was, thinking, like, what can I do? I cannot buy them instruments. What can I do? And so this idea lingered in my head to do something. And then one day I thought, well, maybe if I can write a music for the children and for the choir, and maybe we can perform it, and maybe we can record it. All these ideas were kind of collecting in my mind. What can I do to really not just stimulate the children, but also how to use these children as ambassadors for other kids, right? I'm sorry, it's noisy here.
Yeah, you're fine.
And so and so I came with the idea of writing a piece for the choir. And on one of my trips in 2018, I asked the director of the jazz festival, Mantva, to find a children's choir. And I told her that I wanted to perform with them. I told her the whole idea. She loved it. So she found this great choir from Soweto. We traveled into 18, and I wrote a piece that I called Suite for Africa in 3 parts. I wrote just an instrumental, and the choir part was just la 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 da da da, because I don't write lyrics really. And so we traveled with my sextet to Johannesburg. We rehearsed and performed at the jazz festival, and it was amazing for these kids to be first time of a 1,000-seater stage. And so the idea was, I thought that it's going to be recorded, but it didn't happen. So and the idea was to take it further as a project, right, and bring these kids maybe to Europe or to America. So all these ideas were in my head, but I didn't know how to do it, how to bring this whole choir from Africa. But I was talking to everybody here and there. But so it was not recorded. So I decided to, in 2019, go back to South Africa and record it. But it didn't work because I was trying to get funds for the travel recording success and the whole thing. And then in 2020, of course, lockdown, we couldn't travel. And then in 2022, myself and my husband Bart, we were traveling from Brussels. We were in Europe, back to New York. And at the Brussels airport, we're waiting for departure, and flight across the hallway was canceled. And so all these people from the canceled flight end up on our plane. We hardly made actually our flight because we were on standby, and but we did. And so mid-flight, I was in line waiting for the bathroom, and I see these 2 beautiful girls with the T-shirts saying World Orphan Choir. And I'm, girls, where are you from? And they're like, we're from Africa. I said, really? And you're a choir? They said, yes, we're going to America and we're going to sing. I'm like, wow. So I met the choir director on the airplane. I told him my story. I left them my information. That's it. And then in 2 weeks, they got in touch with me. So the organization that brings these children from Liberia, it's Liberia, Africa, called Matsiko World Orphan Choir. So this organization is based in Seattle, and they bring children to United States to sing in churches and communities, to not only raise awareness, but most importantly is to raise funds for children to go to school. 24 children raising money, not just for 24 children, they're raising money for 1,000 children to go to school, because school costs in Liberia $40, which is not, it's an impossible amount for anyone to pay. So this is what they do, and they do it for years, and they do a great job so kids actually can go to school, get education. And so when they got in touch with me, we went further into my idea of performing and recording that a suite for Africa that I wrote. And then one of the choir directors, who's actually a singer and songwriter, he said, like, the music that you wrote is beautiful, but there are no lyrics. Why don't I write lyrics? So when he wrote lyrics, he wrote about everything that means everything to these children, right? As the first part is Africa is my homeland. Second part is about 15 as one. It's about 15 tribes that actually were fighting with each other during the war. But these children represent all these tribes, and they live at peace. And the third part, Forgotten Children, Sing for Future. So when he wrote those lyrics, I felt like the missing piece of puzzle fell right in the right place. And so we started working together. We recorded it. And the year after, we had one concert in New York, and that was 2018. 2023. And choir went back to Liberia in November. And this year, they're here since end of March, and we touring. We started with concerts in the South. We also did Colorado, but mainly South. We played New Orleans Jazz Festival, Arkansas, many different places in the South. And I have to say, really, when you play the smaller stage, not a dry eye, because these kids sing with such a passion, because these children have nothing. They have no running water. They have to get water from the well at 5 a.m. They don't have food. When because I host these children sometimes in my house, and when I'm cooking for them, they we don't have breakfast or lunch or dinner. We just have one meal a day if we're lucky, This is the level of poverty. And all they have is music. And that translates, that's why people have they're crying, and including not, just the regular audience, but my friends, musicians, they were absolutely moved. And when it comes to the big stage, you see the impact of children. We had 4 standing ovations at New Orleans Jazz Festival. So, and now we're coming to play more East Coast. We will be playing Nashville Jazz Festival. We'll be playing in Harlem in New York at the Marcus Garvey Park. We will be at the Jazz at the Lincoln Center. We'll be in Cleveland, in Pittsburgh, in New Jersey, at Yale. Different places.
So talk to me about the sextet, and how did all of this come together? It sounds so good. The recording sounds so good, and the communication sounds crisp. How did all of this come together from your perspective?
Well, the initial idea was, of course, to write for sextet and a choir. And, of course, sextet, with changes in personnel, but if you think I started with the group in 98, so it's, 27 years or something, 26 years. So it's a very well-oiled machine. We are I feel it's like one body, and so, in my perspective, I always love to, because as long as I write for this group, it's never enough, and there's more and more, you can do so much more with this band, and I'm experimenting, the way I write, or on one of my projects I added strings to the sextet. And so this project was for me another expansion. Besides that, I was, of course, my main goal was to bring the children to stage, but it was another expansion of how you bring the instrument that I call sextet. To me, it's an instrument, sextet with the choir, not just, we play, they play, we play, they play, but how do you integrate the horns and the voices of children, which is different than, adult voices. And how we integrate the rhythm section, and how do we translate the African rhythms. The thing is that where I grew up in Azerbaijan, and we have a very strong percussion culture, and as we all know, percussion, whatever country we're talking about, the roots are in Africa. So I did use some African rhythms that I knew, and some Azerbaijan rhythms. So how do you translate that into our rhythm section? So all of that was for me another beautiful path to explore. And besides the record, on the live performances, I also made arrangement of the songs, African folk songs that the children sing usually a cappella. So I made arrangement of these African folk songs for sextet and the choir. And so the experiment and the expansion continues.
So what are you ultimately hoping the listener gets from this album? What's your hope?
I just hope that they really feel the energy that comes from the children. I really hope that they can feel what I feel, that these children have to give you so much love because this is all they've got. What I said, they don't have phones. They have no idea what internet is. They have absolutely nothing. They're pure on survival, but all they have to give is love and music. And I really hope that that will translate through the music to the listeners, that it will also bring more awareness of what's going on in Liberia. And the thing is that I really hope that through the record, listeners feel also what people feel in the audience, in the live performance, what they did to me. These kids, they change you for better. The energy, the presence, the hearts, they change you for better. And everybody I spoke to had this experience, and I'm not kidding. Everybody I spoke to had this experience. I have friends that, don't make that much money, but they still sponsor the child, because you can sponsor a child, and it's cost you $40 a month, and then this child goes to school. So, and that means that these kids, make such a huge impact on you, and they really make you think about the world differently and make you think about your life and what you do differently. So I hope that listeners will feel what I feel and what many people that meet these children feel. And I hope that listeners get a chance to catch us live performing somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if anyone wants to purchase this album in the right way, support the whole album and the project, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way to do it probably through my website, aminafigarova.com. Of course, we are available on everything, on Amazon, on all the streaming podcasts. You also, through my website, can find a link to the Matsiko World Orphan Choir if you want to support a child. So I think the most, and also, of course, the live performance schedule. So I would suggest probably the best way to get all information would be my website.
Wonderful. What a great story. What a wonderful album. I've already previewed it on the show. It's been great to catch back up with you. Thank you for taking some time out today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening and tuning into another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in New York, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Amina for coming on back to Neon Jazz. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.